and powered by the Red 5 Network. For more, visit red5.bio.link. Good morning, guys. It's Monday. It's time for our Monday daily dose of Dork. I decided to go with a theme. Since we're talking Snow White, got my puffy sleeves and everything. Good morning. Let's say good morning to the chat. We have Fernando Zayas. Good morning, sir. He said he took his niece to see Snow White and it's an abomination of humanity. Oh my. Good morning, deranged lunatic. To everyone except Rachel Ziegler, he says. Good morning, Taco Cat, CEO of the Star Wars Non-Toxic Alliance. Good morning, Nicole, hashtag mini wrench girl, my nerdy sister. Good morning. She says good morning to the chat as well. Good morning, Loki Jarson. Good morning. I feel jazzy. The music is sending me. Do me a favor before we go any further. Make sure you give me a big fat thumbs up by hitting the like down below. Subscribe if you're new and ring the notification bell so you get notified whenever I'm back with even more nerdy stuff. Nerdy stuff. There's only a couple headlines that I want to go over before we dive into the Snow White discourse, because I have quite a lot to say on that, and some of the things I have to say might surprise you. Honestly, it might surprise you. It may not. You may know me well enough at this point to totally not be surprised at all by the things that I say. Okay. Let's see what we've got. Apparently there was a sequel series for Smallville in the works, and now it's no longer happening. That makes sense to me because a sequel to Smallville is just Superman, and we have that. So it doesn't, they should have done it, first of all. That's something that should have been done like almost 20 years ago. 15 years ago, maybe. Yeah, we've had multiple Superman series, Superman and Lois, Lois and Superman, like Superman the series. There's been post Smallville has been done. So I don't know why they thought that would have been a very good idea. Good morning, Geek Daddy. Good morning. Good morning, Scarab Scuttlebutt Podcast. Justice for Lana, he says. But yeah, this isn't happening anymore. And honestly, that's a good thing because it's pointless. Post Smallville Superman is Superman. It's just Superman. Okay, so there's been a couple things about the Buffy sequel series. And y'all know I'm very passionate about the Buffy stuff. Buffy was like the first fandom I truly discovered entirely on my own and got really, really into. We finally had the internet and I looked everything up. I could probably tell you any Buffy episode from a frame. This was the first thing I knew, all the behind the scenes information, everything. I was the Buffy nerd for a million years. Was even inspired to write my own Vampire Slayer. So there you have that. But the things I'm hearing about the sequel series are not inspiring me with a lot of hope and excitement. I'm super concerned. So, any other Buffy fans in the chat before we dive into that? Scarab Scuttlebutt Podcast says, I posted something about this last night. It seems like everything is going to hinge on the new Superman movie before they move ahead with some of these other DC products on the small screen. Yes, this is true. this is true. If Superman does not do well, they're not going to be greenlighting any more projects moving forward because they don't have money. Rose says Buffy is hot. So here's what we're hearing about the Buffy sequel. The new Slayer is named Nova, and she lives with a single father. Other lead supporting roles including Mr. Burke, Cole, Hugo, Gracie, Abe, and Mia. Nova's best friend, Gracie, is a fan of Buffy Summers. Mia is obsessed with social media, just like my Mia, I assume. Abe, Nova's dad, is a photojournalist, and this is from Daniel RPK. Lame. It's Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It's not Nova the Vampire Slayer. This is a Buffy sequel series. Okay, this is what we've been told. A Buffy sequel series. And at the end of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the series, season 7, it ended with, spoiler warning, Buffy completely destroying the Hellmouth, sealing the Hellmouth, destroying Sunnydale, and leaving with her gang, what was left of her gang. Now, they continued season 8 in the comics. I didn't read all of them, but what happens is, spoiler warning, season 8 of Buffy was Buffy off in Europe, and they did continue some of this in the final season of Angel. Buffy goes off to Europe, and she's basically the general of the new Slayer army. She activated all the potential Slayers all over the world and made them all full Slayers, like shared the Slayer power with all of them. And she's kind of the general in charge of their training and operations and blah, blah, blah. But she's got help. You know, she has team members. She has Willow. She has Xander. She has Andrew. And so she has a lot more time on her hands now that there's, you know, Slayers that can handle stuff. I mean, she's even got Faith helping too, I believe. Anyway, Buffy is not the one and only anymore. She can have somewhat of a life. So she dates this guy called the Immortal. Anyway, she's off in Europe training all these new Slayers, living her life. That's what we want to see in the sequel series. We want to see General Buffy. We want to see Elder Stateswoman Buffy, leader of the Slayer army. That's what we want to see. Who the f is Nova? We don't care. We don't care about some new Slayer named Nova who's a Buffy stan. Like, that's no. If they don't follow season 7, season 8 in the comics, and season 5 of Angel with Buffy, then I am out. I'm out. Loki says, just in case you don't dislike me enough, I've never seen 1 second of Buffy. I'm not the target market. A lot of people haven't seen Buffy, but Buffy was a phenomenal series. Not just for ladies, not just for girls. It changed quite a bit on how, what's the word I'm looking for? Network television was seen and how it was made. It really changed the game for a lot of things. It created its own genre, and just some excellent writing, some amazing writing, some great funny stuff I still quote to this day. So you should definitely check it out. It's got some great writing. But my point is, if you're doing a Buffy the Vampire Slayer sequel series, why the f would you center it around an completely unknown characters? Like, completely unknown. That is the dumbest move they could possibly make. You cannot strike lightning twice. Not with brand new characters. Okay? We've had nothing else. We've had Buffy and we've had Angel. Only one spin-off series. One thing, period. You can't bring in a brand new thing with all new characters. It doesn't make sense. You're without her involved other than someone just being a fan. That sounds so stupid. Good morning, Charles. Good morning. So, yeah, I'm not hearing a lot of great things. And then we have Charisma Carpenter, who played Cordelia in Buffy and Angel. Um, she had kind of a crappy interaction at a convention. Well, the interaction itself wasn't crappy. What the person did with it most certainly was. Her quote was taken in, changed, totally changed. So someone asked her if she was involved with the Buffy sequel, and she said, I would absolutely love to, especially since there's new leadership. Joss Whedon is not involved whatsoever, which I don't think I'd want Joss involved at this point, knowing how he treats his cast and crew. But I think Marty Noxon, Fran Rubel Kazooie and Kaz Kazooie, David Fury, David Greenwalt, Tim Minear. I mean, the list goes. There's several producers and writers that absolutely should be involved in this. She's been asked if she is involved, and she's like, with the new leadership, I absolutely would love to. That show is such a huge part of my adult life. It made my career. I would be honored, and I think it would be very poetic for Cordelia to get to come back, since Cordelia is dead. Cordelia is dead. She died on Angel. Spoiler alert. But what this reporter does with that answer to that question is he writes this article for comicbookmovie.com, I believe, and says that Charisma Carpenter says she'll return for the Buffy sequel under one condition. And it came across as very bitchy and problematic. And it upset her, justifiably so, because she's like, you could have cost me a job. Because if I saw someone say that, I wouldn't want to work with them. They sound like a diva. They sound like a problem. Good morning, Penny. Good morning. And Duration just said, I wonder how they would bring Cordelia back. Well, I mean, she left to become a higher being, so to speak. So I'm sure. And there was always a joke on set with Buffy that if you die, your character just comes back more. Like, you just get more work, no big. So they always find a way. When there's magic and stuff involved, there's always a way. But she's very upset, and she went ahead and addressed it, saying, that is absolutely not what I said at all. I said I would love to come back. I gave no condition. I made it not conditional. But when you change things like that, when you misquote people, you can cost them jobs. You can ruin livelihoods. She's calling for more journalistic integrity. And I agree with her. I might have to harass her to see if I can get her to come on the show, because first of all, I freaking love Charisma Carpenter, the human. She's a very, how do I put it? She has a lot of integrity. She has a lot of integrity, a lot of conviction. I really loved her as Cordy. I'd love to talk to her. I think she's just a really awesome lady. I do. I think she's cool. So I think that's all I really had in the way of just little tidbit headlines for you guys today. And now I want to talk about Snow White, because I've watched it, well, most of it. And we got to talk about a few things, because this movie, and spoiler warning, I'm just telling you right now, huge fat spoiler warning. I mean, probably not too bad, but it may ruin this for you. So this movie is supposed to be a direct remake, a live action version of the animated movie that came out in 1937, Disney Studios' first feature length movie. Yes, I'm very Snow Whited up today. uh, so it's supposed to be a remake of the 1937 movie, the first big thing Disney ever really did, made them what they are today. And so they decided it's not broken, let's fix it, and changed a bunch of stuff. It is not the same story. It is absolutely not the same story. Loki, spoiler warning for a 100-year-old movie. Just about. So I have a lot of problems with this movie, and you people are going to hear about it. So first and foremost, a little backstory on the behind the scenes. It all kind of kicks off with Peter Dinklage. Who is Peter Dinklage? Well, I will show you. Some of you, most of you, will know him as Tyrion Lannister. Maybe the second most famous little person actor ever. Second only to the one and only, the legendary Warwick Davis. Good morning, Nerdling First Class Backyard TARDIS. And when he heard that they were doing a live action Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, he was very upset. And he said, "You can't do that. That's demeaning. Stop doing this to people like us. It's not okay. It's discriminatory." And like, who are you, dude? You don't speak for everyone with dwarfism. You don't speak for me. You don't speak for everyone else who has the umpteen million different versions, types, and whatever of dwarfism. Yes, I have a weird version of it. Hervé Villechaize, you're right. You're absolutely right. Was very famous. Deplain. He actually, Peter Dinklage portrayed her Villechaize. Anywho, you don't speak for everyone, pal. I mean, if that's your opinion, it's a weird opinion to have, because there are a lot of little people, LP actors out there. And there's not a whole lot of jobs that call for an LP. So for him to be like, it's demeaning. Well, did you take a census? Did you take a poll? Did you ask every single LP you know? Did you go to the last convention and ask any of them? Because I don't think you did. I don't think you did. Case in point. Where's she at? I'ma find her. Lila Hart is a little person, stand-up comedian, who recently has had a lot to say about it. And I agree with everything she said. In fact, Dave and I were talking about this last night. So again, she says the same thing, that you're taking jobs away from little people. Love her. I do too. She's awesome. Here, I'll show you guys Lila. I got to talk to her briefly yesterday, and I would love to have her on the show because she's just super cool. There she is. She's so cute. She's just the cutest. Anyway, Lila said the same thing. We need work too, man. Like, we need work. We are actors. We need jobs. Okay. We don't see a problem with it because dwarves are real and they exist. Like, they do. Good morning, Maria. Good morning. So, she did a couple interviews talking about this, and I completely agree with her. And one thing she and I had kind of hit on, Snowheart, that's what I'm going to start calling her, is that, okay, I'm getting distracted. So Peter Dinklage says it's demeaning to have little people play dwarfs in Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. So they changed to magical creatures. Disney hires a bunch of able-bodied, full-size people to play the dwarfs. And then people like Lila Hart step up and they say, what the actual F What is wrong with dwarfism? What's wrong with us being short? Like what is the problem there? What you're saying is that's a bad thing. Being a dwarf is a bad thing. Being short is a bad thing. So they scrap all of that, do reshoots again, and they change it to CGI dwarves. CGI dwarfs. Which still, what the F? You still didn't hire little people. You're sending this message that it's a bad thing. Like, Lila Hart even said, she's like, in this day and age of, being woke and inclusive, you're still cutting out the disabled. You're still cutting out disabled people. And I completely 1000% agree with her. 1000%, because it's true. It's like the last class of people that it's still cool to exclude and make fun of. Geek Daddy will not be seeing any more Dinklage projects, not even Toxic Avenger, which I'm a fan of. God, that breaks my heart because I want to see it so bad. I love Toxic Avenger. Gary Oldman played a dwarf in the movie Tiptoes. I've never even heard of that. So this movie actually comes across as way more insulting, bigoted, and exclusive. It's problematic at best because look at this message we're sending. Dwarves aren't real. Don't look at it. Don't pay any attention to it. When I was a kid, and again, I'm very, very tiny. I have problems with my legs. It's very obvious, okay? And people would stare at me and I would get upset, and my grandma would say, the ones that stare at you are not the problem. It's the ones that quickly look away and try to pretend that you're not there because they're trying to cut you out of reality. They're trying to ignore that you exist. Okay? So the ones that are staring at you are acknowledging your existence. The one that quickly look away and shield their eyes, they're the ones you need to worry about. And that's what Disney is doing here. What I said that Lila told me, she's like, you make a really good point, and that really made my heart go, oh, really? Was there is a message in Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs that they are missing entirely by removing actual dwarfs from the movie. So here we have this evil queen played by Gal Gadot, who looked absolutely phenomenal as the evil queen. Don't get me wrong. She looks beautiful. She looks like the evil queen in the animated film. She truly does. However, and I love that she played Wonder Woman in the first one. Gal Gadot is not a strong actress, okay? She didn't have the chops to pull it off at all. Horrible line delivery. She can't sing. But visually, she looks wonderful. So we have this evil queen she shows up. She's stunningly beautiful. It seems her beauty has these magical powers, and she's just beautiful and wonderful. And it turns out she's an evil bitch from hell. She's an evil, evil queen who only cares about her good looks. Snow White has her good looks, but she doesn't care about them and gets turned into a scullery maid because of how she looks. She's a threat to the evil queen. So she's like, okay, you look too good and I need to be the fairest in the land. So you go over here, puts her in rags, etc. And then when she tries to kill Snow White and Snow White runs into the woods and meets the seven dwarves, everyone else has basically shunned these seven dwarf men. They work really hard. They live in the woods, but no one else goes around them because they're totally different from everyone else, and it freaks people out. When Snow White meets them, she's like, "Oh, hi. I didn't notice you were so short. How about I help clean up around the house and cook your meals in exchange for room and board?" And they were like, "Okay." So they end up just absolutely adoring Snow White and doing everything they can to take care of her and look out for her. She is beloved to them. They become family. And the whole point of the film is don't judge a book by its cover. Everyone looks different. That is not indicative of who they are as a person. That's a very valuable lesson. They're teaching you that very pretty people aren't always good, and people who look totally different from what you expect are not always bad. Get to know them first. They can be really wonderful people. They can be really awful people. That's the whole point of the dwarves in Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. But Disney attempted to completely remove half of the title characters, removing that lesson entirely and teaching young children with physical disabilities, any disabilities, dwarfism, that they shouldn't exist on screen. And I'm not cool with that. That's my biggest issue with this movie, is that instead of giving little people actors a chance to, one, earn a paycheck, two, prove their acting chops like any other actor gets the opportunity to do on screen, and three, show that they're human beings just like anyone else. If we're supposed to be teaching children through these films by changing them to be more inclusive and embracing to different peoples and cultures and all this other stuff, why are we not using it to teach them about disabled people and people that are different from them? Why are we trying to erase that like it's a bad thing? That is the worst part of this entire film. For me, that is the worst part, is the attempt to erase people like me and people like Lila from existence. Like, nope, you don't fit here. Deranged Lunatic says 9 times out of 10, when people say the name of the movie, they always forget the Seven Dwarfs part. They do. They are vital to the story. They are half the story. But not only did Disney try to remove the characters entirely, they changed the name to just Snow White. So here they have their first insanely profitable and popular hit of a movie, their first foray into this, made them what they are today, and they decided to change everything about it because of the comments of one bitter, angry actor. So there's that part. That is, I'd say, the most important part of my review is it's totally ableist. Like 1,000%. So there's that. Like, how dare you, Disney? Second, the new music does not fit with the original soundtrack at all. This is a problem the Little Mermaid had. They made new songs and they shoehorned them in with the original soundtrack, and they do not mesh whatsoever. They do not match. They've removed the song "Someday My Prince Will Come" and "I'm Wishing," the Wishing Well song. They removed that one and they changed it to "I'm Waiting for a Wish." And it's not good and it doesn't fit at all. Which brings me to another point I had about the things they changed in this film. So another thing they changed was there's no handsome prince that comes and, kisses her, wakes her up. Good morning, Omari. Look, that was not the scuttlebutt. I know what the scuttlebutt is. and they're a member of the Red 5 network. um so there's no handsome prince, you know. They feel that's problematic. She shouldn't be so focused on waiting for a prince and someone to come save her. But that's part of what Snow White is, okay? This is a hundreds of years old German folklore fairy tale. That's what it was. And you know what? I don't know how to inform Disney about this, but little girls like that shit. Okay? Little girls like princesses and handsome princes. When I was a little girl, I liked it too. Now, granted, I was more Princess Leia than I was into Snow White and Sleeping Beauty. Although Sleeping Beauty is my favorite. Uh, anyway, I like that stuff too. It's romantic. We love that romantic stuff. And then this handsome prince rides up and kisses her, gives her the kiss of true love, and wakes her up out of the poisonous slumber. Little girls love that stuff. And Disney doesn't have the right to come around and tell a bunch of 6 and 7-year-old little girls not to like that sort of thing. It's stupid. It's very, very stupid. My daughters loved princesses. My sister loved princesses. My best friend. What is absolutely wrong with that? Like, there's nothing wrong with it. But Disney comes along and says that there's everything wrong with it. And we need to modernize this. And we need to make her the hero. And there's no prince. And remove the classic song that everyone associates with Snow White. Someday my prince will come. And change it with I'm waiting on a wish. It was just terrible. What's wrong with daydreaming about finally meeting the man of your dreams? What is wrong with that? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. Everyone dreams and hopes for love. Everyone does. So I don't see what the problem with that was at all. Oh. Have you seen Tabitha's video in the history of Snow White? No, but I'm going to, because she is German and she will know. Germans invented the fairy tales. They know. Yeah. So they've removed the most feminine aspects of this film. Little girl's favorite part of fairy tales. And why would you want to modernize a medieval German folktale? It doesn't make sense. Is it still taking place in medieval Germany? Then why would you change it? He who does not know his history is doomed to repeat it. And the way people saw the world and life back then is important for modern people to understand, so we know what not to do going forward, or what does work and what we can still do going forward. So that's a very dangerous thing, to constantly change art and history from decades and centuries past. Very dangerous. Very dangerous. And little girls still love princesses and princes and romantic fantasy. Let them have it. None wrong with it. Fernando says Ziegler calling the prince a stalker was trash. That girl, she needs to grow up a bit. She needs to grow up a bit. When you're young, you're idealistic, and you want to have this soapbox. You want to stand for something. And you don't have the experience or wisdom yet to know what soapbox to stand on, to what to believe in. You don't know anything yet. You have to get out there and experience and live life to know what it is you do believe in entirely, and what's worth it, what is it. And all the things she said about Snow White, to me, is just folly of youth. Folly of youth. Because it's not up to you to make decisions for millions or billions of other people. What works for you doesn't necessarily work for these people over there. If that's how you want to live your life, fine, go. Go live it. But getting hired, because that's what being cast in something is. You're being hired to do a job. Just do the job. Just do the job. If you don't want to do a job where you feel like you're perpetuating stalker behavior, whatever she called it, don't do that job. If it doesn't make you comfortable, don't do it. But don't call people names and try to make them feel bad for liking a romantic fairy tale. A romantic fairy tale, okay? There was no good reason. You're right, Fernando. There was no good reason to change this fairy tale. It was a bunch of suits, executives who think they know better than everyone else, involving themselves in creative decisions when they are not creatives whatsoever. But this music that they shoehorned in did not match the tone and style of the rest of the soundtrack at all. It was awkward. It stuck out like a sore thumb each time. It was the same problem with The Little Mermaid. Again, Gal Gadot, not an actress. Not an actress. This is not a role she should have been given. Again, she looks the part. She looks beautiful. But, I mean, just not the part for her. Not the part for her. Another thing they changed was the reason for naming her Snow White. In the fairy tale, for hundreds of years, she was named Snow White because of her snow white skin, her lips as red as a rose, and hair as black as pitch. They called her Snow White because of it. In this film, she's named Snow White because she was born in a carriage during a snowstorm and they survived, so they called her Snow White. Dumb. Dumb. So dumb. And it's not just the fairest of them all, it's the most brave and true. Look, you're erasing the entire point. The lesson of the whole fairy tale is vanity and focusing on outward appearance rather than someone's character. Ziegler's nothing but a 24-year-old punk kid that doesn't know her butt from a hole in the ground. She's half Polish. Okay. So she's part Eastern European. Did they not see... Why do the studios keep hiring Gal Gadot? Did they not see Wonder Woman 84? Apparently not. Terrible. Patty Jenkins must be stopped. And she was. Thank God. It's terrible. Backyard Tartar says, honestly, they offended everyone leading up to this movie. They had the CGI dwarf debacle, Ziegler talking bad about the original, telling men and Trump supporters their viewership isn't needed. Apparently it was, because their numbers are awful. Awful. This is the worst performing live action adaptation Disney has ever done. And for excellent reason. It is terrible. This movie should have been an easy slam dunk for Disney. No question. You've already got the template. You've already done the animated movie. Just do that, but with people in front of the camera. That's all you had to do. But they decided to go fiddle with the recipe, thinking they knew better. And look what happened. What happened? Bad acting, horrible, uncomfortable, shoehorned music. They've removed the entire lesson of the movie. But yeah, I don't think Gal Gadot had any business being cast as Wonder Woman when they could have cast a more experienced actress. Omari, this is going to make it harder for Disney to set up their live action Kingdom Hearts movie. Oh. Oh no. Oh, I don't want to tell my children about that. Yep. Deranged Lunatic says so. They basically effed around and found out. They most certainly did. And they owe so many people an apology with this. This is terrible. I don't know why they thought removing those songs and plots and lessons from this film would be a good thing. I mean, I had the original soundtrack on record when I was a child. My grandmother gave it to me. It was hers. And I know every word of every song of that. Who doesn't love the scene where she's singing to the wishing well and it answers back? The echo? They've removed all of it. Fernando says Disney is suffering from hubris. I agree. Charles Westcott, I wonder if Rachel will be fired by Disney for such negative and political comments. Ah! They only do that to people who make sense. They only do that to people who don't fit the narrative they're trying to express. Silly Sir Charles. Again, Lilo and Stitch is going to make $1 billion. It doesn't matter. They won't learn any lessons. Lilo and Stitch is going to do awesome. Lilo and Stitch might be their best performing live action remake. Stop that. Now, they did have Hi Ho in there, and there are some frames of the live action film that match the animated film. I should say this animation to that animation, because like the whole scene, the Hi Ho scene where the dwarves are mining, there, Dopey does the thing with the gems, and like that's all animated when it could have been actual people. Omari, someone would only get fired from Snow White if their name was Gina Carano. Probably. Or if somebody said, this is kind of ableist. Don't you think? Like, this sucks. If somebody said that, they would have gotten fired. Because God forbid someone speak up and say, you know what? This isn't any good. This is a mess. I don't know if anyone's going to like this. And I've only seen like 3 people say that they didn't hate it. And it was just like, it was okay. My 5-year-old niece loved it. Your 5-year-old niece loves Blippi. Like, do you love Blippi? Yeah. So I haven't seen anyone saying, oh my God, I loved it. It was amazing. It was incredible. I've not seen one person say that. I've had people send me screen caps of their phone, like buying tickets to movies, and none have been sold for Snow White. They're like, look at my theater. There's no one there. That's what happens. That's what happens. So can't recommend Snow White. It's pretty painful. Is it Bippy? I don't know what it's called. I don't have small children anymore. They're adults and teenagers. Adults and teenager, I should say. 3 out of 4 are adults. And that has definitely been the toughest part of parenting life. But that's all I've got for you guys today. If you've seen Snow White, or if you go see Snow White, please tell me what you thought of it, because I really, really didn't like it at all. I didn't like it at all. But tell me what you think in the comments below. If you have any more questions, comments, emotional outbursts about Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs, tell me in the comments. As always, if you would like to help support the channel, the easiest way is the cheapest, nay, the freest way to do so. And all you have to do is give me a big fat thumbs up below, subscribe if you're new, and ring the notification bell so you get notified whenever I'm back with even more nerdy goodness. But you can also do other things, like see this QR code right here? It'll take you to buymeacoffee.com/comics and MUA. And you can tip me as little or as much as you like, because without tips from viewers like you, I cannot keep doing this stream. I can't afford it. I'm poor. I'm not monetized, and I got to pay for software. So, thanks to tips from you guys, I'm able to keep doing this, and I love you and appreciate you so much. So, if you want to help, all you got to do is go to buymeacoffee.com/comics and MUA or scan this QR code. You can tip me as little or as much as you like, or you can go to Cash App and do the same thing. I like that I can give you options, because there's not just that. There's also my official Patreon. You can join the official Nerdling Army by going to patreon.com/comics, and you get behind the scenes outtakes, sneak peeks, updates, exclusive content, exclusive merch that you get every 3 months for the first year of your membership, access to the exclusive Nerdling Army chat. That's right. And there are 3 tiers starting as little as $3 a month. And again, all of those proceeds go to keeping this all going 5 to 7 days a week, depending. There's also merch stores over at Etsy, comicsandcosmetics.etsy.com. And I'm an affiliate for several companies like Zenny Optical, where I get all of my glasses, Leash Boss for all your puppy needs, Cora's Vault for all your superhero collectibles, and I even have links for AliExpress now. Is that not crazy? I know I've used it in the past for cosplay, like cosplay stuff. So I mean, I haven't really had much of an issue with it, but if you want to buy some stuff off AliExpress, it's kind of like Wish or Shein or Temu, there's a link. The link is, all these links are in the description below. And I do get a little bit of an incentive for it, and that helps keep all this going. So if you want to help, check out the links below. And I am a member of the Red 5 Network. We are a collection, a collective, a family, a network of podcasters and content creators that bring you exclusively nerdy content. So if you like this podcast, chances are you will enjoy many, if not all, of the other podcasts and channels that the Red 5 Network brings you. So if you want to check out all the podcasts powered by the Red 5 Network, then go to red5.bio.link today and enjoy more of your Red 5 family. But that is all I've really got for you guys today. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful week. Be kind to one another, and I will see you tomorrow morning at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Keep your eye out, because
Disney and Kathleen Kennedy are gonna get you!